does that weigh on you at all?
Not until a few seconds ago. I mean,
Hey, there's a chick on my app.
Right, I'm just saying women aren't meant to fight. They have tiny, hollow bones.
Don't you think you're doing a lot of genderizing?
What?
Don't be a pussy. Join Cobra Kai.
I was a natural cobra.
Welcome back to the Queen Cobra podcast, and I'm so excited. My first female guest of 2022, and we all know we love badass females here on this channel. I have Milena Rivero, and I am so excited. You played Leah on Cobra Kai season 4.
I did, in fact. Thank you for having me.
You got it. I know this has come up a lot of times. Leah, anagram, Allie.
Yes, definitely. 1,000 times. I get DMs all the time like, oh my God, did you know the letters rearranged? It's Allie. I was like, actually, I didn't know that at first until someone pointed out to me and then pointed out to me 15 more times. But yeah.
We don't have to go too much into detail about it. I'm sure you've talked about it enough. Just really cool that the writers give fan services like that all the time, that they throw that in there. And only people who would like actually look up how to spell your name or looked on like the Instagram profile that came up on the show, right? I mean, that was pretty cool. Did you have to take photos for that?
So that's an interesting story. A lot of those photos are quite old, actually. Even some before I cut my hair, you can see. They had me send in a bunch of photos, so I had to like pick around and choose which photos that I had from my life that they could put in my Instagram. But it was really shocking seeing them all there on the show.
Well, they made you look super cool. Obviously, all those boys were just fawning all over you. They had to have you. And what was it, a frog hat?
Yes. Oh my God. I almost forgot that I sent that one in. And then I saw it on the screen. I was like,
They used that one multiple times. I
know.
They're really trying to play into like the dungeon lord, gamer girl.
Yeah, I kind of did it, I guess.
Is that something, do you play video games at all, or?
So I used to like play some video games because like with my dad, and then right now I have an obsession with Osu. So it's like this like kind of like music themed game, which I really liked, and it's really time consuming though. I'm like, I probably should be doing homework, but yeah.
Well, we just won't tell your mom that you're, not doing your homework.
Whatever. Yeah. I do. I'm a straight A student so far, so that's okay.
Just, to get right into it, obviously bullying comes up quite a bit in the show, and it's a big part of the storylines going on, intertangled in between all of your characters, all the young kids. Have you seen anything like that going on at school, or is that kind of hyper realism?
I mean, I'm so grateful that, of course, this has never happened to me. And I'm also grateful that I don't really get to see that like every day at my school. But of course, there are always stories I hear from like people who go to different schools, or like just stories I hear through the grapevine of stuff happening, which is kind of crazy to me. But I think bullying is like a really serious issue. And I think that in Cobra Kai, of course, some things are going to be heightened. Some things like how they got the milk into the locker will never occur to me. But I think that, I think they really want to like touch on that topic because it's a very serious issue.
Yeah, they've touched on it a bunch well before you were. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole reason the Karate Kid exists, right? Is bullying. So I know I see that your acting profile, you started really, really young. So like what got you interested in acting?
So actually I started off kind of like a baby model. So I started off around 2 years old. I started doing a lot of print jobs, magazines, and all that stuff. And then I want to say 5 commercials and all that stuff. And I did a lot of commercials for a long time. And then I finally started doing film. I went on this just a kids show that was like informational and everything. And then that went national. And then I started just doing a lot of more auditions, and now self-tapes more because COVID, of course.
You're growing up, so am I, in the era of technology. And obviously you just said self-tapes during COVID. Do you find that like social media presence and things like that are important for a young actress, like even at your age, that's playing a factor in like what kind of presence you present?
Yeah, I would find like almost difficult. I mean, with when Cobra Kai came out, I got a lot of more traction on my Instagram page, lots of new followers and everything, which I was super excited about. Of course, who wouldn't be excited about that? But it was almost like, oh, I'm not sure how to handle this, because I've never been like that before. But I think now that it's like I'm getting more used to it, it's actually more relaxing than it used to be. And I love seeing like fans trying to like encourage me into acting more and more.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a ton of people who will follow you from Cobra Kai to whatever your next project is. And hopefully we see more of you in Cobra Kai. We'd only hope.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to ask you anything about that. We don't do any spoilers here on my channel. Or not about that. But I mean, more about you personally, like obviously, again, you've been doing it for so long. Like, is there a part of acting that you find most enjoyable?
I think that it's obviously like you get to meet all these amazing people that you act with. Like it's such a great experience to learn from other people, but also getting to be on set in general, seeing everyone do every job, like all the PAs doing their jobs, the directors, that people like casting, even when you're in the casting process, casting directors you get to meet. Like I think it's really unique experience. Even like one of my favorite jobs that I've seen on set, of course, is costume designing because I really like fashion. And that might be even something I want to go into. So it's really cool to get to meet these people.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, like what your future holds. Obviously, you're so young. You have so much time to figure all that out, but fashion is something that interests you. Do you kind of pick their brains, all the fashion directors of each set, and go through with them like why they're making certain choices?
Yeah, I really like talking to a lot of the costume designers and stylists. I think one of the most interesting people like jobs actually that I've heard of from on set is people who age clothing. It's so interesting. Like if for example, if you're like, I was on Sweet Girl and we were hiking and everything. So they have to like put all the dirt and make it look used. Cause of course these are new stuff. Make it look like used hiking boots and used jackets and everything. And it's such a cool job. They have this whole studio. Everything is like just so awesome. The way they do it, you would never imagine. Like these are really cool, interesting people.
That sounds super cool. The only aging that I think I've ever tried to do is like, a history project in like the third grade. I used the tea bags on my paper to make them look old. So I can only imagine like the process that is for actual clothes, because you're not just rubbing tea bags on them.
That is true.
I know that the costume designer on Cobra Kai has said time and time again, like colors play a huge role in like the story that they're telling. And I find that so interesting. Like, I don't know how much you've picked his brain at all, but like they constantly said like, Miyagi-Do is like cool tones and blues mostly, and Sam wears a lot of pink and she wears purple when she's conflicted between like the two dojos. And so very interesting stuff. Like, I don't know if you've talked to him about that at all.
Yeah, I think it's just really interesting, the wardrobes and everything and all the fittings that you have to go through. Just like I remember I got there and I did my first fitting and everything, and honestly like I ended up wearing things that were completely different than when I originally thought. Like everything changes when you get there.
Did you get any explanation as to like the way your character, the way Leah dresses at all? Or
No, I didn't get explanation on that, although I would love to ask though. I mean, I feel like it would be so interesting.
if you had to like make it up on the fly, like what do you think her style is?
I honestly, I can't say. I would describe Leah as like a nice girl. She's like fun with everyone. So maybe her style is just reflecting that.
Yeah, I mean, also she's what, like 13, 14.
That
So
is true. That is
she's
true.
got plenty of time to figure out her style. I know mine has changed so much throughout my life, and
Mine too.
throughout high school it definitely shifted. So She probably hasn't figured it out yet. She's probably just wearing what's popular.
The trends.
I mean, obviously I spoke with your mom in order to get you on here. So your family, is that like a support system that you're able to have, keeping you grounded through acting?
Yeah, I think my family is like really supportive of me, especially my mom. Of course, you can see that she handles a lot of stuff for me. But yeah, she's a really big supporter of my acting.
I know that a lot of kids find that like acting, like child acting, sometimes it can be hard to like figure out yourself and your own identity and who you are. And I actually talked to a long time ago now, almost a year ago, Bo, who plays Brooks, who was in seasons 1 and 3. And he was talking about like being a child actor and how weird it is not always like being yourself in your pivotal time of like finding yourself.
Yeah.
Is that something that you experience?
That's true. I mean, I think that I almost find it as an escape of everything, because it's like almost my outlet, right? Like my creative outlet being an actress. So every audition that I want to do and that I film and everything, I think that it's a chance to like reinvent yourself as this new character, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes, I think it's just cool to become another person for just a little bit and then revert back to your own teenage self going to high school as a freshman.
Right. I mean, I could never do it. That's for sure. I could never like just tap into someone else and then go back to being myself. I think I would definitely struggle with the identity part of it. I'd be like, what do I like? But obviously you like acting. So I guess that kind of makes sense. So if there was like any role out there, anything that you could play ever,
Mhm.
do you have something in mind that like you would just love to be a part of?
Well, I am a Marvel fan, so definitely Marvel. But also, I think one like my favorite kind of genres of roles to play are like, I don't want to say villains, but villains. The antagonists like that have like a bunch of layers and development to them. Even if it's not good character development per se, I think I really like playing characters that, evolve in the show or movie.
That's really cool. I don't know why, but I could see you just like nailing it, like playing like a Regina George type, like mean girl.
Yeah, you see? Thank you.
Kill it. You'd kill it.
Thank you so much.
And not in a like a I feel like she's mean way, just in a
No.
you could totally turn on the opposite of everything that you are and just like snap into it.
Thank you. Yeah, I love those roles.
Do you watch a lot of like TV and movies, or is that something like that weirds you out as like an actor? Do you like think about them acting, or do you just like watch it for enjoyment?
Actually, I kind of I'm a movie enjoyer. But I almost enjoy being an actress in movies because I get to like think, oh my God, how did they do that? Or what were they thinking during that scene? Like what work did they do to get to that level? Or even just what's going on? Like how did they CGI that? Like I think it's just like really cool to see it through an actor's perspective, but sometimes I want to turn that off, just to enjoy the movie itself. But yeah.
I always found that in sports, like I work in sports and I played sports, and
Mhm.
so like I come home sometimes at the end of the day and they're like, "Oh, do you want to watch this game that's on?" I'm like, "No, I don't." I don't want to see any more sports.
No, I get it.
So I was wondering, if that was kind of similar.
Mhm.
But do you have, I mean, other than Cobra Kai, obviously, is there a show or a movie right now that you're just like obsessed with?
I just finished watching Tick Tick Boom, which I loved. I love that movie. I used to be a theater kid. If I don't know if that's obvious, but I used to be a theater kid, and of course I love the musical aspect of it. But I think the entire storyline and like the drama of it and how it made me cry like 1,000 times.
Same.
It did. But no, I think it was a really great movie. I just finished watching that actually.
I am a huge fan of Andrew Garfield also.
Of course, yeah.
You're a Marvel girl, but I mean, SpiderMan I don't.
Yeah, I know.
He's my favorite Spider-Man, I think.
Yeah,
I know.
I have a hard time choosing between them. I just finished watching the new Spider-Man yesterday, so yeah, I mean it's pretty fresh in my mind, but I can't really choose. I don't know why.
I think after watching the most recent Spider-Man, he's solidified himself as my favorite. But obviously, like, I don't know, I feel like that was the era where I was getting into it. So he was like, 2014-ish. I was like 14 at the time. 15, I think I was. And that was like my prime getting into all of that stuff. And like, so I obviously watched the Tobey Maguire one, but like I actually watched Andrew Garfield's version first.
Right, got it. Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I did watch Andrew Garfield's first, but I really love Tom Holland. I don't know. I feel like he's such a great Spider-Man.
I think he provides the best balance between
Right. Yeah, I understand that.
being Peter Parker and like nailing that version and like being Spider-Man and being really good at that. I think a lot of people say that Andrew Garfield was like too cool, too suave to like be Peter Parker.
Cool.
But I don't know. I personally found that very attractive. So maybe that was the reason.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, I mean, big Marvel girl. Is there any TV shows that you could recommend we binge out there?
Well, I'm currently binging Modern Family with my mother. Yeah, it's surprising, I know, because I do quite like a lot of drama, but since comedic, I think it's my comfort show. I'm on like season 7 or 8, I think, of I don't know how many, but I'm kind of scared that we're gonna near the end and I don't know what to do after that.
Every time I get to the end of a long series and I've like invested myself in these characters and their journeys, and I was like, even if it's a comedy, because I watch a lot more comedy than I do drama, and I've like invested myself in their journey, and I'm like, oh no, it's over. Like there's nothing else. Like, what do I watch now?
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling now.
I would say like my comfort show is How I Met Your Mother. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've only seen clips, so yeah.
Actually, Ralph and Billy were on it several times. They talked about the Karate Kid a lot, and it was like a whole thing. I'm convinced that they should do like a little skit where Neil Patrick Harris, who plays Barney, is like involved, and it, in my mind, he like went up to the big three and he like pitched them this idea of Johnny being the hero, because that was like something that they talked about all the time in How I Met Your Mother, was like Barney thought of Johnny as the hero of the story of the Karate Kid, which is obviously not true.
Yeah.
But then like Ralph and Billy come in the final season, and like Billy is playing like Barney's best man. But they play themselves in it. So it was really cool. So every now and then I like go back and watch it as my comfort show, and they're on Hulu now. They're doing like How I Met Your Father, like a reboot version.
I didn't know that.
With new characters and stuff. So obviously I had to go back and rewatch all of the original, because that's what you do. But I guess getting towards the Karate Kid stuff, I took karate as a kid. I was part of the reason that I fell in love with the movies, and now fell in love with the shows and all of that. Like, I feel very connected to martial arts.
Right.
Your character is not possibly yet involved in karate in the show. But is it something that you've ever done or would consider doing?
Actually, I have considered like taking karate classes. My sister used to take karate when she was little. But I do have a punching bag in the middle of my room, which I use because I used to really like kickboxing. But I think I would be inclined to try it.
I would highly recommend it. I know a lot of people that go on the show have now ended up taking some form of martial arts, but it was probably my favorite. I played every single sport growing up, and I think it was my favorite. I just the discipline and the character that it gave me, and all of that, super influential in my life, obviously, as I sit here talking about Cobra Kai. Do you think that Leah might ever do karate on the show? Not
I don't know.
that they have said anything, obviously.
Right.
Is it something you would want to see her do?
I feel like Leah would be cool in like any dojo, honestly. I think she's just a cool character. I feel like she would, but who knows?
If you personally had to join a dojo, which one would you join?
Ooh, I've thought about this a lot, and I think Cobra Kai. I like
With which
looking
sensei? With which sensei?
Silver, I think. Yeah, I know.
Silver girl.
I know.
No, it is okay. So am I. I'm obsessed with Terry Silver.
You see, like, I don't know. It's something about like his like mysteriousness that I think, I don't know, I want to be mysterious too, you know?
I just think he's so cool.
Right?
He's like terrifying. And
Yeah.
a bad guy, a bad dude.
Of course.
But so interesting.
Right? Like, there's so many layers to this character. Like, maybe I wanted to be my sensei.
I keep saying in every live that I do with any other content creator, if I was ever to go on the show, I want to play Terry Silver's daughter.
That would be so cool.
I'm obsessed with him. I think I mean, obviously there's a lot of layers to that character.
Yeah.
So talk about a villain with layers. Makes sense that you like him if you like to play villains with lots of layers.
Exactly.
And it's cool that they were able to do that. Like he didn't, I mean, in the part 3 of the movie, he didn't have a lot of layers. He was just kind of a sociopathic psycho. But he has all these layers now. One of the things that the big 3 and all the writers do really well is give those characters a lot of depth. But I want to, talk about you and the younger group that is now coming onto the scene. Dallas Young plays Kenny, and Griffin, who's Anthony, who has been in the show the whole time, but is taking on a much bigger role. What was it like between the 3 of you? Because obviously there's a lot of tension between your characters, but behind the scenes, how did that go?
I think it was really fun. Like getting to work with people like closer to your age. It's just really cool. It's like a different experience, of course, because when you're used to working with like actors that are older than you, it's like you get to learn a lot. But you can also learn from people who are your age and in a more relatable context, if that makes sense. Like you get each other a little more.
You're growing together.
Exactly. I get it.
I totally get that. Did you guys play a lot of like pranks and stuff? I know like a lot of the I guess now are like the older kids, they talk a lot about like their pranks. So I don't know.
I know. I haven't gotten to do any pranks on set, which is something I kind of want to do. Like whether it be any set, like I kind of want to try
it. Do you think about sometimes like the gravity of the role that you're playing? I mean, on a show like this that has such a legacy and so many people just like watching it and seeing you as like the new Allie in a way, and like it's obviously Daniel's son who's involved in your love triangle and a Cobra Kai boy, and so there's all these parallels and to this original movie. Does that weigh on you at all?
Not until a few seconds ago. I mean,
don't let it.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's actually like a really, really influential role that I'm like supposed to be taking on, of course. I think Leah will, I think that she's a pivotal character between their relationships.
I mean, yeah, I did not mean to to throw that weight on you at all. I was going to tell you not to bear it. So that was going to be my advice, is just don't think about it. But I mean, it's a really important role that you're playing. And I think that's really a special thing that you guys get to do it so young and grow up together, because the original cast they were all basically adults by the time they started playing those roles.
That's true. Yeah.
Did you get to meet and like and chat with any of the original cast?
So I met a lot of people. I remember I met Sholo, and I was walking out of a trailer, and I just froze. I completely froze. I don't know why. Maybe it was like I was starstruck, but I was like, hi was the only word I could get out. It was I don't know why. But like, I think it was like, because, I watched Cobra Kai before I, auditioned, even before I heard of the audition. So I guess it was just because I've seen him so much. And then I also got to meet Ralph Macchio, and I saw William, but I didn't really get to meet him, which is so sad. I didn't really get to chat with him, but yes, I did see most of them, and got to talk with some of them. And like Eli, I got to talk with in the trailer. He was super nice to me.
Did they like kind of pass on any wisdom to you as you're, you're the new kid on the block kind of thing?
When I was, speaking of Eli, because I had some original stuff with my character that can't say, of course. What's it called? But I was just talking with him about it, and then he was just like, kind of giving me advice because I'm being new on the show of everything. He was just kind of being really encouraging, which was nice.
Did he have the mohawk at the time, or?
I think it was the hair trailer, so he didn't have it yet.
I was gonna say, because it could be really intimidating with the
With this
mohawk.
guy mohawk on, no.
I was like, if you got starstruck by Sholo, I can't believe that you were able to have a conversation like that. Because
Yeah.
I would definitely, I grew up in like the skater era, so kids had mohawks, but nothing like that. I would say I would definitely be intimidated if someone with like a huge mohawk,
Yeah.
and I were just like having a casual conversation.
Of course. Yeah.
That's super cool though. Yeah, like they were the new kids not that long ago. So I'm sure they have a lot of good advice to pass on. I don't know what you guys were talking about, but we don't have to talk about that. Yeah. So did you I know you said you talked to Jacob, who plays Eli, and were there any women on the set who were, there to kind of back you up as like the new young girl who is taking on a big role, and obviously like feminism and women's empowerment comes into play on the show, but also just in real life?
Yeah. I'm so sad that I didn't get to meet a lot of them, which is almost like I really, really did want to meet them. But I was surrounded by most of the boys because I think they were like two. No, Devin was the only other girl in the younger age. And then yeah, no, I think I would have really liked to talk with them and everything. I got to meet Peyton, which was nice. She was very nice. And then yeah, that was basically it. But I think there's a lot of feminist points made in the show, which is really nice because of course male dominated sport, karate.
Right, exactly. And I just think it's cool, like sometimes I look back and I look at the original Karate Kid, and there are times when I feel like Allie is just the girl in between them. Like she doesn't have a ton of layers. And that's something that they now have the opportunity to develop with all of their female characters, is just their own storylines. Obviously, Sam and Tori are taking on huge roles, but even you get to take on a role with a lot more layers, and like you're sitting there in between these two kids who are going back and forth, and you're somehow friends with both of them.
Yeah. I think that it's like nice to like not immediately throw Leah, like obviously love interest, but not immediately relationships, of course, like Allie was. Although I do love the original Karate Kid. What's it called? Yeah. But yeah, I think that like developing this like almost friendship before relationship between the two of them is kind of interesting.
With Dallas, with your scenes with Kenny,
Mm-hmm.
obviously like you said, it's a friendship, but there's like a lot of like the flirty banter going back and forth, like
Yeah.
how do you at 15 develop that kind of chemistry with someone on set? Like, is it just about being friends off set, or?
Yeah, I think it might be because we talk offset. But I think like you really like, well, I had to really develop the differences between what the relationship with Kenny would be and what the relationship with Anthony would be. So like almost because I've apparently like Leah's known oh my god, Anthony for way longer. And they've been childhood friends, so I had to establish that more like familiar relationship with each other. And then Kenny, which is like a new kid, so you don't know what the relationship would be with them. But yeah, I just had to really differentiate them.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. Like, is it one of those, like, I know that some actors like won't talk to that new love interest until they start filming. That way there isn't that familiarity. But like, did you guys hang out before you started filming and then you had to go backwards?
I think I met them when I filmed my first scene. So I was kind of just thrown into their dynamic and everything. But I think it was like as time went on, like more relationship between us developed, and I think that like kind of shows on screen.
No, it totally does. I mean, and for coming in and filming your first scene, it does seem like you have a history with Anthony. Like the familiarity is definitely there. That's why I asked if you had to backtrack with Kenny, because it felt like you were, familiar with them. And that's like a really cool thing. And something that I love about like kids of this generation and whatever, I feel like we're able to develop familiarity with people so quickly through social media. Like obviously your social media presence is only a part of your personality, but it's how a lot of people like get to know each other to start out. Did you social stalk anybody before you got on set?
Ooh, I think I tried to social stalk a lot of people, but I couldn't find anyone. I was like, oh my God, who am I going to be acting with? I don't know. And then I actually could not find anyone. And then I got on set, and of course, then I got their Instagrams. But yeah, no, I tried. I definitely did.
Well, before we wrap up here, I want to give you a chance to anything that you can talk about. Obviously, we hope to see you in season 5, but if there's any projects that you can promote right now.
Sure. I have a movie coming up in the summer called The Valet, and I'm hoping for these 2 other projects, but we'll see. Wish me luck. And then I can plug in my social media if you like. At Milena_Rivero_official on Instagram.
I will have all of that. It'll be on the bottom of the screen right here, and it also will be in the episode notes in the description below. Obviously, we want to have people following you and seeing what you're doing. And the very last thing that I want to ask you before you go, something that I just think is important to touch on, but is maybe not something that I'm capable of touching on, is being a Latina woman in this industry. I know that is something that Xolo talks about, not being a woman, but being a Latina, just like in this industry and the representation, there's a ton of it on this show. But what that means to you.
Yeah, I think it's really like fulfilling to be a part of that representation, because of course you don't get that a lot. It's getting better, but of course everything needs work. But yeah, I think it's really great to be a part of that movement, that everything is getting more representation. And I'd love to see more representation in other shows that I watch, of course. But I think I really like it. I really like being that Latina, representation.
Well, that's great. Honestly, you are lovely. Like you're just so intelligent and well-spoken, and I'm so happy that you're a part of this Cobra Kai community now and that we got to speak.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.